Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is TGIF Friday in the Rev. And boy, we got a lot of things going on every level. We got hostages coming back to the United States. And of course, as usual, it's like being in Fall River. We always get the short end of the stick on every deal. Putin never makes a deal that he's not going to do better at, right? So, it's nice to see these families are home and they're reunited with their families. But what did they get? He gets out a murderer from Germany, a guy that was a hitman, and a whole bunch of other criminals. These people would have never. The guy was serving a life sentence in Germany, and it's just like the last time we paid.
And he's getting an award. And he's getting an award from Russia.
I know, for killing people. Putin used to be KGB, of course. That's He's right. A hero over there. He was over there killing people. And it was, but I mean, I saw the video of Putin meeting him with his family at they gave him a bouquet of flowers and everything else. He's a hero. But like I said, one thing about Russia, they have no impotence at all to give anything. They'll never let anybody out unless they're gonna come out on the top end. Unlike Biden and Harris, who couldn't make a deal that would favor Americans, because all they know how to do is give out stuff. Give them whatever they want. Give them money. Give them anything, just like it is with now. And it's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the gentleman Sullivan, who was part of the negotiating team, said that the United States did not give Putin anything but the hostages but the criminals. Nothing. No money, no nothing. Yeah. You know what this reminded me of, though? Do you remember the 1979 Iranian hostage with Jimmy Carter?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they released them hostages when?
When Reagan got elected.
When he got inaugurated.
Right. As soon as he became the president of the United States, they knew they had somebody with a set of cojones, and they were going to be in deep shit.
Yeah,
this is what they do with weaklings. With weaklings like Harris and Biden, who all they think about, and the only reason he said we didn't give him any money was because remember the last time we gave him millions.
That's right.
And they took a lot of heat from it. So now you just cleaned out every terrorist that they have in jail. We managed to capture some of their terrorists, and now what we did was we released them all. Putin got them all back. I mean, look, these people are insane. I just got through watching, and I was watching some news from I taped the national news last night. Yeah, that's you're right, Steve. We would have got to that. And these are what these losers do. The guy who killed 3,000 Americans on 9/11 is now not going to get the death penalty. He's down at Guantanamo. He's probably swimming down there on a Cuban beach, and they don't get the death. 3,000 American lives were taken. And this guy doesn't get the death penalty. 343 firefighters died in the Twin Towers trying to rescue those people. Police officers died. People are still dying. There was somebody dying this week from the after effects of 9/11 and the stuff they inhaled on site, cleaning that site up. And these weakling, gutless, ineffectual idiots, that's all they know how to do is give out money and lie. Kamala Harris now changed their opinion on fracking. She's changed their opinion on everything. Oh, now I'm for the borders, even though ours the borders I did nothing. Oh, I'm not going to stop fracking. No, she only said it 150 times. No, stop all fracking. These people are ridiculous. I just heard this morning, I was looking at that, I was watching that program I taped last night. Yeah. you're not going to believe this, CJ, unless you saw the program, because it was hard for me to believe. We know how bad San Francisco is. And San Francisco was arguably the most beautiful city, and I know you've been there, as have I. One of the most beautiful cities on earth when they wrote songs about it. I left my heart in San Francisco. But it's a disaster now. People shooting up in the streets. But this is what liberals do. London Bree, whatever, she's even got a wokey name. She's already spent $20 million on trying to bribe junkies into stop being junkies, which we know how effective that is.
That's right.
Zero.
They got a lot of help.
Yeah. Now she wants to give them an extra $100 a week if they can pass a drug test. She's already spent $20 million. And if we're ready for this, Fall River maybe, I can't believe it, because I think Fall River may be almost as close as San Francisco. The city, because I remember, I don't know how many years ago, Sean Kadim was the city administrator. I remember going to a Boston meeting when he told the people in Boston, because we were having an argument over benefits, and Linda Pereira was sitting in a room. She's probably got political amnesia now. But she was sitting in a room when Sean Kadim said if all our bills were called in, we had a $500 million deficit. $500 million. I'm sure it's a lot more. But the city of San Francisco right now has an $800 million deficit. And she wants to give more money out. $800 million, nearly $1 billion. They are $1 billion in the hole. These people can't run a one-man parade. All they do is screw everything, and they don't care about regular people. Never did, never will. They can tell you all they want. They don't give a damn about anything. All they care about is getting themselves richer and destroying the middle class and giving away everything to the people. Their woke agenda is destroying the planet, even in the Olympics now. They had a male fighter fight a female in the boxing because their woke agenda. They said, "Oh well, he identifies as a woman. His passport says he's a woman." Well, he's not a woman. He's got X and Y chromosome. Yeah, you're right, Steve. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that report too. That they didn't have the people on. They didn't. Well, look, they didn't do anything fundamentally. It was a mess. But the boxer hit an Italian female boxer so hard she quit.
42 seconds.
Yeah, she said she'd never been hit that hard. Of course, she got hit by a man. The Olympic Idiot Committee said, well, we have women with high testosterone levels. Well, if they're taking testosterone and they are actually females, you shouldn't allow them to compete. Because
that's illegal drugging.
Because we know that testosterone helps to build muscle tissue, just like steroids do. Males are different than female. I hate to tell these wokies that. I know they don't think so. And they say if you want to identify as a woman and take a couple of hormones, I don't give a damn. You don't lose your chromosomes. The fact is, in the Olympics, if you watch the Olympic weightlifting, probably the lightest male in the Olympics will lift almost as much as the heavyweight woman. If you take a 135-pound boxer, male boxer, and let him hit a 135-pound female boxer, he'll kill her. He'll literally kill her. He might cause permanent brain damage. when they're using 8-ounce gloves. They had an incident already in an MMA fight, not in the UFC, but in one of the lower MMA venues. They allowed a trans to fight in the women's division, and he fractured the woman's skull that he was fighting. Because down there, you can hit him when they're on the ground and everything else. So it's like, fracture their skull. But their woke agenda, oh, that's okay. You kill a woman. Besides that, how many billions of dollars did we spend creating an environment where women could compete equally in sports? Now they're undoing that. Oh, if you identify with you can't do it. Men are physiologically different. They have less body fat, more muscle mass, and a hell of a lot more strength. This is outrageous from top to bottom. These imbeciles. Look, I can see you being a Democrat if you're a rich movie star or a rich multi-million-dollar businessman. Inflation doesn't bother you. Crime doesn't bother you. You can hire your own freaking army to protect you. And you got enough pull to make sure that when you make a call, everybody will show up, like Lori Lightfoot did. It doesn't bother them. But it's the pinheads that we have that they convince, like, we're for you, the Democratic Party for you. They've been screwing over the black community for 75. Look at Baltimore. It's been run by black mayors, black city councils for 75 years. It's one of the worst pits in the world. It used to be a great city. They destroy the middle class. They don't care about the regular working people. And how they can convince anybody with a brain cell is beyond me. And later on, we're going to get to the thing you told me about, because my head flew off yesterday, what our governor just did with the school teachers. But with that, CJ, after my rant, you can rant a little bit. Go.
Well, I think we should go right to the issue with the school teachers. It seems that the state legislatures, obviously with the governor's consent, has sent to the Department of Education, you know, that division in state government that doesn't do their job. Well, what division in state government does their job? You know, a ruling for a study, quote unquote, a study on layoffs of teachers in low income areas and racial equality. Here we go, DEI, because they want to do away with the seniority portion of the seniority if you're black, Latino, poor, any of those things. It's going to be interesting to see what that study shows. I would love to know what that study shows. So we're going to find out what happens, because it's going to be coming down. It's already been sent over to the Department of Education, so now we'll wait to see what they have to say. And we've seen some of the things that have come out of the Department of Education. Matt Malone. I mean, there's a key. There's a key. Matt Malone. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this and how the unions are going to handle it. I want to know how the unions are going to handle it. I know that you've gone through this once before with Boston when they had an equal opportunity issue going on, and they dropped the scores for Afro-American candidates to like 35 so they could get more Afro-Americans on the department. And I don't know how the union handled that.
Well, I'll tell you. First of all, let me talk to Steve's comment. They won't say anything because they're afraid. They intimidate these feminists, or the feminists. Some of them are woke. I won't discount that. Some of them are woke now. They won't say anything. But the reality is, a lot of these women, except for that female swimmer who is really, really, who's really, really vocal. But you're going to ultimately see a backlash. But listen, the state of Massachusetts is already, they don't need to do a study. All they got to do is look at history, because history will repeat itself. Do you realize the insanity of that thing? They're talking about low-income area educations to lay off the most senior teachers over the junior teachers because of their color. That, number one, is reverse discrimination. And what sense does it make to lay off your most experienced teachers when your educational system is already failing? Just don't even bother to let them come to school. Just collect the money, pay everybody, and just let everybody wander around a state house, or better yet, go sit in Maura Healey's office. What in the hell are these people thinking? Quota hiring is reverse discrimination. And now I'm going to tell you the story, the real story. A long time ago, when the dinosaurs were prowling the earth, the state, we went through this before. Oh, we got to figure out how to get more minorities, more blacks on the departments. So what did they do? They started on a war path. They're going to make everything equal, not by merit. Don't take these people and maybe run classes to educate them so they can get a good mark on the test. Get them physically fit so they can pass the physicals. No, no, no. What did they do? First thing they did was change the physical completely, because virtually no woman could pass the physicals for fire and police, because you had to lift. I know, I took it. You had to climb a rope without using your feet. You had to pick up a dummy. You had to climb a ladder, go across a balcony, pick up a dummy, come back over, come down a ladder in like less than 45 seconds. All things you'd have to do as a firefighter or even a police officer. They took fundamentally the same schedule. So what did they do? Discriminatory. It requires too much upper body strength. Well, yo-yos, it takes upper body strength to lift the ladder. It takes upper body strength to climb a ladder. It takes upper body strength to drag a hose up 3 flights of stairs in a 3-decker. Heaven forbid we require upper body strength. Eliminated it. Then they created a physical that a dead person could pass. I mean, I know some cadavers. Maybe even Biden might have been. Well, I mean, maybe not Biden. Biden would probably come close to passing, but he wouldn't. Eliminate the physical. What's the next thing you got to eliminate? Oh, there's a height requirement. Whew. Some of these minorities are short. Eliminate the height requirement. Gone. Next thing. Test score. They actually dropped the test score to 35 as a passing grade. It was 70. And let me tell you this. Nobody with a 70 ever got on a job, because there were hundreds of people taking the test. If you didn't get somewhere in the 90s, mostly the mid to high 90s, you weren't getting a job on most departments. Ever. 35. Then they made it mandatory that you had to hire blacks first. So what you had was you had someone who got a 35 or a 36 on an exam that used to be 70, getting a job ahead of a person who got 100 or a 99. Do you realize the kind of problems that created in the Boston Fire Department and fire departments all over the state? These people did not come into a welcoming environment. They were hostile. They had people who had brothers, cousins, uncles, who died on a list and never got a job. Some of these people were 4th and 5th generation firefighters. It was the family business. Same thing with the police department. Never got a job during that period. It created all kinds of racial tensions. It didn't give the best qualified candidates the job, and it was reverse discrimination. But they don't care. Diversity and equity and inclusion, equity does not mean equal to them. It means you get a job whether you're qualified or not.
Didn't earn it.
Didn't earn it. There you go. And this has already been done. And it causes more divisiveness. It causes more racial tension than it helps. But they don't care.
And they keep blaming the Republicans for divisiveness.
Yeah, and look, there's no millionaire's kid that's going to be a firefighter. The millionaire's kid's going to go work for daddy's company. He'll give him an office he can play video games in, and he'll give him a $500,000 a year salary. Just like the military. Go back to the Vietnam era, some of the greatest songs ever. Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fortunate Son. I ain't no senator's son. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. Rich old men start wars. Poor young men fight them. You don't see no senators' kids. At one time, they did a study. There was not one congressman's child in a combat zone. 98% of them weren't even in the military. That's why they won't reinstitute the draft. They're petrified because they will have to pull what they did before and say exemption for this. Cheney, the vice president of the United States, was a draft dodger. He got 5 deferments from Vietnam. 5! This is outrageous. They're destroying the very fabric of this country. You know, when you went out west, the pioneers, and you have to respect those people. Nobody gave in. There was no welfare then. You couldn't grow a crop. You starved to death. You couldn't fight off the Indians. You died on the plains. But they created America. They abided by Darwin's theory of not only evolution, but the theory of natural selection. The strong survive. The weak don't. We have a society now where the weak are running the society. They're rich, they're entitled, they're weak. You think the dudes for Kamala with the man bun and the movie actors sitting in there, $50 million houses saying, "Oh, I'm a dude for Kamala." Yeah, put a rifle in their hand and send her ass over to a combat zone. Never happened. They'll be in a fetal position crying to every congressman, paying off everybody they can to get their ass out of there. And if you think this irritates me, I think you just realize you just hit a nerve. Back to you, see.
You brought up something very important, and I think people have missed some of this, is that there are countries across the world which require military service for their able-bodied teenagers, 18 to 21, 22, some of them start at 21. Okay? As a matter of fact, a K-pop group, 3 of their performers, 3 of their lead singers, whatever the case may be, left show business temporarily so they could serve in the military for South Korea. South Korea. In Portugal, you must serve. Doesn't mean you go to war. You do military service. Military service isn't so bad. It isn't so bad. It teaches you respect. It teaches you how to take care of yourself, how to take care of others, and to give yourself some respect for other people and to respect other people's rights like you respect your own. Because remember, in the military, you represent your country. Not that it matters these days, because, like you said, if they brought the military back, they turn around and they find excuses for reasons why everybody can't go. And that's the God's honest truth. I'm going to change the topic a little bit here. I received a bit of information from someone, and it's becoming very popular on social media. I'm going to read it, and it was an anonymous posting. Does anyone know if the Highland Woods Ian Steen, Kenneth Steen AIS Realty Development Project on Courtney Street is still under a cease and desist, or if his work site has been reopened? Where is Fall River City Councilwoman Laura Ferreira Sampson? She was his biggest fan when he destroyed the lives of their first public victim. There have been double digits more people victimized by him for his deceitful and deceptive business practices, impacting the taxpayers of Fall River. Laura Washington Ferreira Sampson, what do you have to say for your best friend Ian Steen now? Would love to hear what you have to say now. I will never forget how you treated us as the worst time of our lives. You don't belong in office representing anyone in this city. I'll make sure no one forgets. And obviously this person is very upset. They posted some pictures of a cease and desist order that was issued on July 16th of 2024. So that's relatively recently. And it's a stop work order. And they're not playing games. And I mean, I'm looking at this, and I would put the picture up, but it's too large. But I'm looking at this, and they posted these stop orders on the frames of buildings, on the frames, not only on the frames, but on the walls of partially completed buildings. I don't know what happened, but I mean, there's a backhoe in this picture and an incomplete building, and they're not playing any games. And now this comment came from David Ayotte. She also approved $50,000 for the Veterans Kitchen to cook 5-star meals on Weaver Street, while other veterans groups got nothing. I'm a vet, and the money could have been used in other ways. She approves items like she has a blank check. He at least came out publicly. Obviously, Laura Sampson has some people that are very upset with her. And we know what she did to us. We know what she did to us. Okay? And there's no question about it. And we weren't happy about it. But you've got to stop. You represent the people, not the developers. You're as bad as Paul when you stop representing developers and forget to represent the people. The people put you in that office and they demand respect. And they demand your compliance. And if you can't do it, step aside. Give somebody else the opportunity.
Well, CJ, you brought up a very, very good point, because you look a little below the surface of what this means is people love to crucify us, and we don't really care. We know that. We don't care because we call them like we see them. And that's all we ask. You want to have a position? You want to get on talk radio and have a love-in with Ray Mitchell talking about how great the Democrats are? Look, if you're delusionary enough to believe that, well, that's on you. We tell you to do your homework. Yeah, that's it. But unlike them, and, we know what they did. They plastered us. It was even in the British newspapers.
That's right.
We got thrown off the air for exercising our constitutional right. to have an opinion, for freedom of speech, because we didn't have the right opinion. Now, she has people that she obviously favors. I saw the veterans organizations going down to the council and complaining about just that. And obviously, still nothing has been done to make it fair and equitable. Where's the DEI there? You know, but the difference is we give credit where credit is due. On this show, we acknowledged her position on not putting it to the voters, because that's not their job. It's not their job to try to circumvent their authority. And they were right. They can't even understand it. And we know when they put it for the voters aren't going to vote the correct way, because there's going to be all the big money businessmen, like they did with Durfee, bankrolling everything. And then they're going to mislead you like they do on propaganda stations all over the world. They'll be on We Suck at Radio. Joe No Good will be writing articles all over the place about how great it is. Oh, the MBTA is coming. It's going to save the city. Now it's 19. Now it's 25. They're going to have test trains, maybe by 30. Even Ray Mitchell, who's like semi-delusionary on that show. Somebody told me, he even said, I don't think I'll be alive when it gets here. That's a pretty good bet, Ray. But the fact is that we give credit where credit is due. At the last meeting we went to present, at the end of the meeting, I walked over to her and I said, thank you for taking a position for the taxpayers. Because she did. But did she ever come back and say, has she ever once said, you guys hit the nail right on the head with that show? No. She would never say that. Because that's not the way they're wired. They were, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good one. That's it. That's his nickname, I think. But, you know, these people, look, I don't have a problem with an opinion. We've said this a million times. Listen, I believe in Hegel's theory of dialects. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Great ideas. Once in a while, some genius comes up with a great idea. But most of the time, if you ever read Hegel, and Karl Marx did, and a lot of famous people have read Hegel, it's fundamental theory about debating. You know, you have one opinion, which is the thesis. You have an opposite opinion, which is the antithesis. The two of you meet each other and you debate, not try to kill each other, not ignore the other person, but present a logical argument. And sometimes when these two separate ideas come together, they create a synthesis, a better idea. Something better comes out of it. History has always moved forward through spirited debate. You think America was in favor of the Revolutionary War? They weren't. The majority of people were Tories. There was about 3% of the American public that wanted to have a Revolutionary War. And the Continental Congress, when we were putting together this country, there were nearly fistfights all the time. They were yelling and screaming. It looked like the House of Commons. But what did we get from that? We got a synthesis of ideas. We got a constitution that it was written, you know, in the 1700s, that stands the test of time as one of the most brilliant documents ever drafted in the history of mankind. And it didn't come because everybody nodded their head like a harp seal. It came with a lot of arguments and a lot of fights on the floor of the Continental Congress. But that's the difference between you and I, CJ. We're not afraid to support our opinion. We'll go down there. We'll stand in front of the camera. But our position is never, ever based on political considerations. I don't care if it's popular or not. If I think it's the right thing to do, I'm advocating for it. If you lose, well, at least you went down fighting. But these people on both sides of the aisle, they're so blatantly political. And like I said, now Kamala's flipping everything over. The media's hiding her. They're pulling to Joe Biden. But hey, these people are right. She has had some issues with certain. She favors. It's pretty obvious. She favors certain people and certain things. And you have to be fair. And if you believe in it, fine. Well, make a case for it. But with that, CJ, I'll turn it back to you because, like I said, we always get not that I care, but we always get the crap kicked out of us, that like we're totally unreasonable and everything else, but we're not. If you're right, you're right. We'll say you're right. We don't deny if you're right. But you shake a Democrat, shake an elitist Democrat, tell them to say once that the border is not closed. You couldn't get it out of them if you gave them the Chinese water torture. If you sent them down to Gitmo and waterboarded them, you couldn't get them to admit that. There's an inflation. I got to send you that article about, people, they keep saying wages are going up. They are, but they're not going up faster than inflation. So the thing is, let me make this clear, pinhead Democrats who can't do math. If your boss gives you a $10 a week raise and it costs you $40 a week more for your groceries, did your wages really go up? No, they didn't. They're going backwards. And with that, CJ, I'll turn it back to you.
That's like the conversation that we have the best economy going. We got a great GDP. We've added 200,000 jobs, 300,000 jobs. Guess what? They're not taking into consideration the fact that we lost 200, 300,000 jobs during the pandemic. Okay? Those people were hired back. So the Biden administration took that as, look at, we're doing wonderful. We got these, but we're not talking about the businesses that have to close, that are still having to close. I just read an article about Buca de Beppo. I don't know if you remember that restaurant. It was in Seacon for a short period of time. I love that restaurant. The meatballs the size of your head. I love that restaurant. When I was in Minnesota, I used to go there as often as I possibly could. And I would eat in the kitchen every time I could. They had some of the best food. They just closed up over half their restaurants in the country. Over half. That's sad. When you look at Applebee's closing restaurants, when you look at places like Macy's closing stores, 150 stores set to close. And they're saying because of the pandemic. They're also saying because of the fact that people are now buying online. And what do we support? We always say you need to support small business. Small business is what keeps the economy going. Small business is what keeps the economy going. It's going to make it work. It will make it work in Fall River. It's hard to support small business when you're on Amazon buying everything. Or you're on Walmart.com buying everything. I know you save a few bucks, but guess what? By saving a few bucks, you're hurting your community. And this is what we need to focus on. Okay? We need to focus on the fact that the Biden administration has not had such a great GDP. Because what they've done is they've taken the fact that we've lost all of these jobs and businesses during the pandemic era and then failed to reduce from those new hires and new businesses the numbers of businesses that closed and the number of people that were without work. Okay? And that's one of the things. And you're right. I remember when it was a big deal to see Sears close shop. I mean, Sears, 1800s, Sears. Come on. They were around forever. They were like the fixture. And then they were bought by a gentleman who decided he was going to run it into the ground because he wanted their real estate. It's kind of like St. Anne's Hospital. The Dr. Del Toro bought it, sold the property, ran it into the ground, bought jets and yachts, and now he's under investigation for criminal intent. Okay? That's right. And I was going to get to that. That's right. It's not the pandemic. It was the elected officials and their poor decisions. It was the elected officials who turned around and said, shut everything down. But then when it was being detrimental to the community, oh, we can open back up, but you need to wear a mask. You need to get a vaccine. And some people still don't know if that vaccine was beneficial or not to them. They're still coming out with newer and newer vaccines all the time. But they don't know if it's been beneficial to everybody because people have this long COVID.
Well,
long COVID.
Look, CJ, Scott made a very good point. Look, it wasn't the pandemic. The government did not do their job. They gave everybody stimulus checks. They were giving small businesses reimbursements. Did they reach out to businesses to make sure that they got them? It wasn't that. It was, like you said, but that's what they do. They lie about everything. Number one, the jobs that they're talking about are rehires and illegals. A lot of illegals, and statistically, I've seen the stats. They hired illegals. Illegals are taking a lot of those lower jobs. And they manipulate it. Oh, yeah, you're making more money. Yeah, you're making more money, but it costs about $10,000 a year more to live. So if you got a raise that gives you a $2,000 a year raise, you're $8,000 in a hole. In California, they're paying $20 for a Big Mac meal. $20. I mean, this is nuts. These people manipulate numbers. We know, the regular people, the average people in this country know that all this is lies. So when we get the Democratic propagandists on We Suck at Radio with all these statistics, I'm going to send you that little thing about some real basic explanation of economics. My son sent me. He posted it. So if you see where it was posted, it'll say, you'll see my name on it, but it's not my name. It's my son's. He's not a junior. He's got a different middle initial, but I don't have a Facebook page. So, but I'm going to send you that article. I want you to post it on our website. Everybody read this thing. It's a very, very, very basic kind. It's a long explanation, but it's very basic, and it makes people understand. It shows everybody how they manipulate the reality. Oh, the wages are going up. Yeah, they went up 2%, and inflation went up 8%. Well, you're losing money. The GDP, the Wall Street is not an indicator of how regular people in the United States are living. They're not living as well. We have a catastrophe. 2/3 of the people in this country are living paycheck to paycheck. 2/3, 2 out of every 3 people are living paycheck to paycheck. That's basically all the average Americans. The other 1/3 that isn't living paycheck to paycheck don't live paycheck to paycheck. They're the guys that are on Dudes for Kamala. Those are the people. That's the 1/3. The Dudes for Kamala. And so this is not, they lie all the time. Everything, all the problems in this country, as the guy from the Miami newspaper who wrote his final article on politics and said, if they both agree on everything, why do we have high tax? Great article. I read part of it before. We may post that at some point in time. But the reality is, all this comes down to our government. They're all lying sacks of crap. They take care of themselves ultimately, and they don't do it. That's why they hate Donald Trump, because Donald Trump's not one of them. This guy got rich on his own. He got rich on his own brain. Nancy Pelosi didn't get rich because she was smart. She got rich because she was a politician. Every one of these people. AOC's not worth a boatload of money. She was a bartender, although she did come from a rich family. I love the con that she plays. Oh, I'm one of the Bronx people. Oh, you went to Boston College or Boston University. You were an entitled little brat when you grew up. So was Kamala. Kamala's father was a socialist professor. I believe at USC in Palo Alto. I read it. I got it somewhere. Her parents are both avowed socialists. She grew up most of her life in Canada. But she tries to play the hood rat. I'm a hood rat like you. Remember the buses when they took in the buses, Joe? That was me. I was a little girl on that bus. Yeah, play the poor kid, Kamala. Play the poor kid. They're all duplicitous liars. I mean, I wish Paul would have got into politics earlier. He could have been president because he's one of the best pathological liars I've ever seen. He fits right in. He's a born politician. Wasted all those years wandering around the halls of Durfee with his hands in his pockets. Little did he know the potential he had. And with that, CJ, back to you.
Potential. Is that what you call it? Well, here's what his potential brought us. We had a stabbing. A stabbing. Granted, they caught the person who allegedly perpetrated the stabbing, and the victim was taken to a local hospital. I guess he's doing all right. I guess it was life-threatening or something. But I feel safe walking around downtown now. That happened right on North Main Street, across the street from the library. Oh, don't you feel safe? I feel safe. I'm going to go down there right now. I'm going to go have a picnic down in the library grass. That's for sure. Speaking of the library, before we wrap up this show, next week, starting on Monday, all the way to the end of the week, all fines at the library are waived. It's amnesty. You can bring back your books, tapes, whatever it is. No fine necessary. Bring it back, and they don't care how old it is. They just want it back. I guess that book that I took out in 19 should go back. It's very interesting. It's going to be hot this weekend. It's going to be rainy on Sunday. Remember, stay hydrated. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Keep your pets in the house, in your cool area. Water them down. Make sure everyone's happy. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Whew.